from the top, and I feel the area soften. She keeps her chin tucked, and in that shape she pushes back into my fingers. And that we know. And what I'm trying to do is don't bring your chin up. Keep your chin down, dear. Good. And what I'm trying to do is actually slide the atlas anteriorly. Well, I'm actually holding the atlas, and I'm trying to get her to push the occiput past my hands. And in doing that, remembering that the atlas is built with if this is anterior, with an anterior convergence, posterior divergence, which is the same as the base of the occiput, which has these knuckles on it called occipital condyles. So if we are holding the atlas fixed and we've got these condyles, we're actually trying to slide them backwards and free them up so they breathe. Right? Sometimes pulling the base of the triangle open with our fingers will help do that as well. Sometimes pulling the base of the triangle open laterally will also do that to give more space for the occipital condyles to breathe. And sometimes that's the piece that's going to allow the CVJ, in this case the OA or the condylo-atlanto joint. Condylo for occipital condyles, atlanto for the atlas. So we're talking about the space, the female space, between what we'd call anatomically the superior facets, little cups of the atlas, which are anteriorly convergent, posteriorly divergent, right? And the occipital condyles, which are the knuckles that fit in them, which are also anteriorly convergent, posteriorly divergent, right? And we're going to be working with the female space between those two structures or sets of structures. The points, if trying to shear those things free doesn't work, we're not done yet. We're not going right to dynamiting the logjam. We're going to do a couple things. The first is the pure lateral point for C1, which is right in the crook of the jaw, just under the ear, and it's like right there. See it? Yeah. The second point is midway on the jaw, just underneath the surface of the jaw, and Jones calls it C1 anterior. Oh, that's sore.
Not too, but yeah.
There's something in there. Very close to it.
Oh, there you go.
It's inside, almost in the medial surface, right? So that's for you guys here. Here's C1, and halfway up the jaw, underneath is C1 anterior, inside. They're both variations of them. So if I'm monitoring, let's say that the C1 lateral on the left is tight, what I'm going to do is just hold Catherine's head, and like she's temple dancing, Indian temple dancing, I'm just going to laterally translate the head to the right. And in doing that, keeping my finger on the point, this is right out of Jones's book, but what I'm doing is laterally translating, and then pushing the head straight off midline, and then slightly turning her head from the top toward the point. See that? She likes the...
And turning her kind of thing?
Yeah. So I'm doing two things. Step one is I'm just translating her head to the right. You know what translating? What's that?
That's away from the point?
Away from the point. Which is actually compressing the point, but doesn't matter. I'm translating the head away from the point, and then I'm slightly side bending it and compressing it toward the point. Okay? And that will make that go away. It's a pretty cool point. The anterior C1 is a variation of the same theme. We had this point here. There we are, right?
And you're under
Back just a little bit. Well, maybe it's gotten better.
No.
It's gotten better.
It would have gotten better a little bit. Oh, come back down.
Just, there you go.
Yeah. And all I'm doing now is doing the same thing with a little bit of flexion and a little bit of so I'm flexing her, if they say 30 degrees, I'm rotating her 45 degrees away from the point, and then what I'm doing is translating and side bending down, really just side bending into the point. How's that now?
Good. 0.
Yeah. So I've got a hand on her head, and I'm pushing that into the table. You see what that's doing to her? It's compressing that side of the atlas. And I'm monitoring the point.
So you're going like that into
Yep,
depth.
yep. So this hand, interestingly, the hand that's supporting her from below is a really key operating hand, and her the little parietal boss here, the parietal eminence is resting on my hand. It's actually the fulcrum. Right? It's the place, and then what I'm doing is pushing that down. See that? Mm-hmm. It's a really interesting force. I can't say I'm side bending her head because I'm not, but what I'm doing is I'm taking the lower part of her head and I'm bending it away from the point. It's not. I don't really have an anatomical description for it. It's not true translation. What I'm really doing is compressing, right? And I'm pushing the jaw part of the head away from the point.
And then into the atlas. No.
That's the result of it. But I'm not paying attention to that. I'm really literally flexing 30 degrees, rotating 45 away, and I'm basically holding the head up, just pushing down.
Okay.
Well, that is a lateral translation.
Well, that would be if the whole thing were being laterally translated. But still, it's a partial lateral translation where I'm fixing the upper part. Yes.
But you're still not holding the point.
My hand's right here, monitoring the point. Yeah. I'm
away from the point.
This is all the way. So down is like 45 degrees that way.
What's that?
The down compression looked like it was 45 degrees. Is that right?
No, I'm going straight down.
Oh, straight.
Straight down. That point. Straight down to the oith. Feels good, doesn't it?
It does, very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, those are the two. Do that.
So pushing the jaw.
So, what's that, dear?
Pushing the jaw apart.
I'm not pushing the jaw.
Okay.
Pushing the whole cranium
Okay.
down to the earth. Watch it again. Watch it one more time. I'm lifting her up 30 degrees. I'm rotating her 45. I'm putting my thumb over the jaw into the point, and I'm just, the only way I can say it is while I'm holding the top of the head fixed, I'm pushing the head into the table, and that's so I'm pushing through the cheek.
Lateral compression.
It's a kind of lateral compression if that works for you.
So you have more control of the flexion if your elbow's not on the table, if it's against your body?
Yes. Well, in this case, it's not a question of control. It's just I can't put my elbow on the table. If I put my elbow on the table, it's just too high.
That's what I was
So this is just where it needs to be. So watch it again. 30 degrees flexion, right rotation 45 degrees. I'm pushing her cheek straight into the table while I hold her head in a fixed position.
Right.
And I'm monitoring the point. Okay. Then I go back and I check the points. How is that, by the way? And then I go back and I check the CVJ. How is that atlas? Still turned. It's true. It's actually turned. What have you done?
Who knows?
Life on the beach.
Well, yeah, this little place that we'll hit in has a lot of low places. I've hit my head a
You've hit
lot.
your head a bunch of times. Wow.
Yeah, a bunch.
Wow.
So it's the hands on it.
Wow, there's actually... And this would be interesting to see. We've isolated the atlas. And what we're going to do now is challenge it by rotating to it. So she hits a barrier at 30 degrees to the left, whereas she's at 60 degrees to the right. Do you see that? Look how far she goes this side. Look at where the barrier is going this side. So what muscle energy says, if we hit the barrier and we stay at the barrier and we have her push away from the barrier, her muscles will turn the barrier, relax, and as the barrier moves, I could turn her a little bit more. Now, this is not comfortable. This is not for the wimps in your client population. This really hurts at the atlas as you turn because you're taking fibrosed, locked up tissue and really turning it. So push left, hard, right. Hard, and release. I know. Sorry, honey. Just donating your body to science. But look where we're going. Release. Push to the right. And release. Push to the right. Release. Push back into me. And release. Ooh. So look where she is now.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
And you also had her push back.
Just once, just to help, I realized she was tight in terms of her extensor, so I did that. Now, this has the possible promise of turning open the atlas on the occipital condyles, right? So, let's see how we did. We're going to turn her to the right. She goes less far. It's just about 45 degrees, not 60. We turn her to the left, and she goes about 45 degrees. So now, at least in terms of gross range of motion from an atlas isolated position, we have the sense that she's symmetrical. That doesn't necessarily mean that it actually fully opened up the atlas. That was pretty unpleasant, wasn't it?
When it was,